Welcome back. It's Thursday and we've got Chef Anthony in studio with us this morning from Pittsburgh High School Culinary Arts Program, and you guys just kicked off your school year.
That's right. We kicked off our school year on Friday, and it's been an interesting adventure so far. So it's been a lot of fun.
Now, one thing you did for your students, the incoming freshmen, when they would come in for their introductory class on Thursday, was you made them something special that day.
We make chocolate chip cookies for them. It gives them a chance to come in, have a cookie, relax a little bit. Tends to help that day run just a little bit smoother for them, not so intense and intimidating. So, and it works. The kids love it, and of course everyone who's in there already loves them. So. And
it's hard to eat just one.
Yeah, it is. But when you have almost, we had over 200, 225 freshmen coming in. So we had quite a bit coming in, but we took care of them. We always welcome. We love having the new students come in. So we're going to make chocolate chip cookies today. This is exactly what my baking and pastry class is working on right now. So we're going to go through a little bit of the lesson that they go through when they're learning to do this, and and when we move on to the next one, we're going to talk about the rest of the stuff that they learn when doing this. So we'll start with the basics. We have granulated sugar, and we have brown sugar, and we have our butter. Now make sure that your butter is at room temperature.
Now, what type of butter do you typically use?
Regular butter. Butter, butter, butter. Not margarine, not, I can't believe it's not butter, but straight regular butter.
Have you ever used shortening when making
You can do shortening. You can do a 50-50 on shortening. It just depends on how you want them to come out. The 50-50 with shortening tend to be just a little chewier, and like the red bag Chips Ahoy's. Okay. I like mine because I like them soft in the middle and crispy on the edges, so that when they hold up when I dip them into my glass of milk.
And you get that with the butter.
And you get that with the butter. So we're going to cream all this together. And what you get, when you're creaming it together, imagine that the butter is little balloons. And the sugar crystals are sharp little squares, and you're trying to get the sugar crystals to become part of the butter molecule. So you're pushing them together and trying to get them to form up. And you'll know because everything will lighten up, and it doesn't take real long. We'll turn this off for a second, and we're going to scrape down the side to make sure we get a good mix. Oh yes. And it doesn't take long to get a good creamed mix. This is called the creaming technique.
Can you pop it up a little bit?
So I'm going to take it right on out so we can show everybody.
Sweet. Don't have a high enough camera angle this morning to get that.
Yep. Yeah. I forget, it's not very often I use this mixer. This is my favorite mixer. But you can see your cookie dough. It should look and feel like wet sand. That way you know you're on the right path. And it lightens up considerably when you mix it all together, because you have dark brown sugar and you have the white sugar and then your butter. It'll look just like that. It's very easy to identify, and it starts to stick to the paddle a little bit. So we're going to move on to step 2, which is adding in our eggs. And 2 eggs.
How many students do you get that haven't cracked an egg before? Does that ever happen?
Oh, quite a few actually. Most of them, they either buy the liquids or they've never cooked breakfast for themselves.
Oh wow.
So it does tend to happen quite a bit, and people are like, really? But it's becoming more and more popular or I should say, more and more of a fact and regulation that kids just don't have any idea.
So you have recommendations on cracking eggs, because obviously you crack it straight into that, but when you're inexperienced, you tend to get broken shells.
Crack it into a bowl.
When you're working with kids at home.
Crack it into a bowl and then transport it over. That way you can make sure that you don't have any shells in it. And I like this particular recipe because it comes together really simply. Now, I haven't had this on very much, but you can actually
pop it out again.
Pop it right back out again. This is my mixer, so it's a little tighter, holds a little stronger. It looks like peanut butter, warm peanut butter. So you know you're on the right path. Now for the rest of the fun stuff, we're going to start pulling it together. I'm going to go ahead and pull this up. And we're going to start with, we have baking powder and salt and vanilla. Yes. And I'm going to turn this on. I'm going to add my vanilla. And I'm going to put my baking powder right in with my flour. And I'm going to put my salt right into my mixer. And I'm going to bring it up a little bit and make sure that gets mixed in real well. Now, we're going to do the rest of this by hand.
Okay.
See, you want to, when you get to this point, keeping an eye on it, a close eye on it to make sure that you get the mix that you want. You don't want to overwork it because gluten will build up because we're adding flour. So we don't want an overly chewy, hard to eat cookie. So we want to control this.
Okay.
So we're going to add in a little bit of our flour. And we're going to mix.
Slowly but surely.
And it will all incorporate.
Let me know when you want to add some more.
Go ahead and add a little bit more in there for us. There we go. If you mix, you can do this in the mixer. I like to do it by hand because then I can watch it to make sure that my dough's coming together correctly. And I'm getting a good mix because you want all of it to incorporate. And a mixer doesn't always get a good mix. Go ahead and add a little more.
Get it all edges and everything.
Yes, we want to make sure we get all the edges. We get that big bubble in the middle.
And I noticed you put the chocolate chips in last after the flour.
Yes, that's my favorite part. I like to control that mix as well. I'm very, very controlling in my baking. Unlike my cooking where it's like, oh, it's kind of coming together. And just let it work on its own. I like to be in full control.
Is it true, like, the difference between baking and cooking? Cooking is your measurements of things are more of a suggestion, whereas in baking, you need to stick to the amounts that are required for the measurements?
And baking is a science. Cooking is an art.
Yes.
There we go. So when you're baking, you just kind of want to stick to what it is. Now, I have a friend who comes in and does brownie day, and she made her own brownie recipe. It took her several years to get it just right the way she wanted it to be, but it's perfect. And she's doctored and played with her recipe to make sure she gets the one that she wants.
Give that last little bit.
But it's actually a really good recipe. The kids love it when she comes in because she goes over everything with it. She melts her own chocolate. She makes the ganache to go inside the brownies. It's so good. And the kids and the faculty, the teachers, everybody loves brownie day.
All right, well, we're almost out of time for this segment.
And we're going to add our chocolate chips.
Going to add your chocolate chips and let you continue mixing, I guess, as we go to break.
Yeah, when we come back later today, we're going to go through all the different cookies you can make with this very simple base chocolate chip cookie dough.
All right, sounds like a plan. If there's any dough left, we'll be right back.